Andrew Baldwin left the king to Richard Allen's wife, saying, "It ain't over. The world's watching. The world sees what's going on."
Hello everyone. I thought I'd play the Delphi intro from the top. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you're all doing well. It's currently 2:01 p.m. here in the UK, so I believe it will be 10 a.m. in Delphi. So day 13, I think. Is it day 13? It is day 13, unless you're counting jury selection, in which case it'll be day 16 or 17. Anyhow, the state rested their case yesterday. So their case is over. Have they done enough is the question. They'll get another chance. Once the defence rests their case, they do get a chance to rebut the defence before the jury go to deliberate. But their case in chief is over. So what I want to do in this live stream is go through the state's case, paying particular attention to the white van man. As the white van man really brought the case, is the white van man Richard Allen's kryptonite? Well, in my opinion, no. In my opinion, the star witness for the state, Harshman, has just bloopered himself, if that's even a word. Absolutely crazy. I just hope that the defence are able to get in all the points they need to without being objected to and all the rest of it. Hopefully they're able to put on a case without Nick jumping up and going in objection every 2 seconds, because the state have potentially left themselves in a very precarious position, and I don't think people realise it. People don't realise it who have just been following the mainstream news. The people who are jumping up and down going, he confessed, what more do you want? He confessed. Okay, all right. And there's no point coming into my comment section saying, Michelle, you need to do more research. Michelle, you're ignoring the facts. Michelle, you're too biased to be reporting on this case now. Listen. You don't know my channel very well. You don't know me very well. If you have the audacity to utter such shameful words in my comments, I'm telling you now, you need to learn a little bit more about me if you think that. Shameful behaviour. Shameful. You need to learn. So, are you ready for schooling? Yay. All right, let's do it. All right, Denise has gifted 5 memberships before the live even started. Thank you so much, Denise. We've got Natalie, Junebug, Jean, Liberty, and Robin. And we've got another super chat here. Hold on. Going up. Hold on. Oh, it's Denise again. Thank you. £5 from Lancashire, the best place in the world, Lancashire, UK. And we've got Kate, who's been a member for 23 months. Just one more month, and you get your OG badge. Woohoo! Anyway, hello, everyone. Got a lot to go through, so I'm not going to do individual hellos. I did see a couple of questions that I just want to go to before we start here. Yeah. Oh, Doug. Oh, Doug. Yeah. All will be revealed. All will be revealed. Well, it has all been revealed. Yesterday was the day. Okay. Okay. Yeah, apparently you did. Yeah. Apparently so. There was another question I wanted to get to here. Can't find it now. But it was something to the effect of, has Richard Allen ever admitted to being a bridge guy? No. No. What he said was he went to the bridge and he stood on the first platform at the north end for a little while. And then, you know, was watching the fish. He was kind of walking along, watching a stock ticker on his phone. And he left between 1:30 and 1:45. That's what he said. That's what he said. So no, he's never admitted to being the bridge guy. The heavily edited, AI-generated bridge guy. Doesn't mean to say bridge guy isn't real at all, but it's just been it's just been like Hollywoodized. Bridge guy had a makeover. So the down the hill, guys down the hill that we've been hearing for the last 7.5 years has been edited. So how do we know that Bridge Guy's voice is even Bridge Guy's voice? I just can't anymore. I can't anymore. Do I think Popo destroyed this man mentally and physically just to make him false confess? Yes, I do. That's exactly what I believe. Did they ever prove BG is the killer? No. No. Was Bridge Guy a lookout for someone hiding? We don't know. Don't know the answer to that. Manipulated audio, manipulated video, manipulated bullet. Are we seeing a theme here? I think we are. I think we're sensing it. We're sensing it. Yeah, he's had a makeover. BG makeover. So, what can you do? What can you do? But Harshman, you know, the state star witness, was asked yesterday, you know, all the phone calls that you listen to. I can't work out whether it was 700 phone calls you listened to or whether it was 700 hours of phone calls. I'm hearing both. Thank you, R&M Productions, for the $4.99. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for your content. I watch your content, and it's good. I do believe he's innocent. I do. It took me a long time to get there. A long time. A long time. So we don't even know if it was BG who said down the hill. No, we don't. We don't. Because we never see. We see BG, which has been heavily zoomed in and then given an AI makeover to make him clearer. But he's in the distance. And then the voice, guys, and then one of the girls says hi, and then he says down the hill. That comes right at the end of the video. And we've got no idea whether the man that is walking on the bridge and the man that speaks is the same person. We've no idea. Going out Christmas shopping, oh God, that's the worst nightmare. When will they get into the Elvis Fields and Brad Holder info? They can't. They're not allowed. Yeah, he did. It's both 700 hours and 700 calls. So which is it? Which is it? Which is it? Figured he was guilty and hoped the state would make it obvious. There's no way I could convict him. No, not based on, even if you believe he's guilty, even if in your heart of hearts you believe he's the man, can you honestly say, based on the state's evidence, that you could convict him beyond a reasonable doubt? I couldn't. If I was a juror and I'd just listened to the testimony. Now, bear in mind, I haven't heard or seen any of the testimony because we're not allowed. And we're just basically going off the few people, both mainstream media and social media people, who were able to get in the courtroom on a daily basis. So we've only got, second-hand information. We're working off hearsay here. Right, the whole case has become one of hearsay. But if I was a juror, I couldn't convict him based on the information that has come out from the courtroom. Let's put it that way. Same scenario with the Idaho 4. Actually, with the Idaho 4, I do believe Brian's the man. I do. I mean, look, I'm open-minded. I'm waiting for the trial. But at the moment, I think Brian's the man. They're going to have to persuade me he isn't. Honestly, this is very different, in my opinion. This is very different. They've got far less evidence against Richard Allen. And now we know the entirety of the state's case. We absolutely know that they don't have as much information against Richard Allen as we already know that the state of Idaho has got against Brian Kohberger. So, with Idaho 4, not that I want to talk about Idaho 4, but they've got the DNA, they've got surveillance, and they've got the phone data. And the surveillance and the phone data back each other up. There's nothing. There's literally nothing in this case. Nothing like that in this case. All right, so let's make a start. Okay, so some of these slides you will have seen already, because I've been putting together a handy-dandy PowerPoint and I've been adding things to it. So I've just made a video out of some of these slides, but I've got much more. I've got clips, I've got maps, I've got it all. And we're going to go through it slowly. Okay. All right, so Indiana versus Richard Allen. What do the state have against Richard Allen? Do they have witnesses? No. No witnesses. No one was asked in court. None of them. So Betsy Blair, Rayleigh Voorhees, the other girl, Bree Wilbur, Sarah Carbo, who's just a liar in my opinion. None of them were asked to identify Richard Allen in the courtroom. None of them were asked, do you see the man in the court today that you saw on February 13th, 2017? Not one of them was asked. Why? Because if you're a regular trial watcher, or you've been to trials like live, that's what people are asked. That's what witnesses are asked. Do you see the person that you saw in the courtroom today? And then point them out, and they say, yeah, they're sat at the defense table, they're wearing a black shirt and whatever. And then one of them will say that the judge or the prosecutor, the judge will say, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. Nothing. No. None. By the way, thank you so much for the £20. Thank you. Apparently that's your first super sticker, according to YouTube. I don't even know why it has to tell me that. But the descriptions of who they saw, none of them matched Rick's description. None. Okay, so no, they don't have witnesses. DNA, what about that? No. Now, they did get male DNA from portions of the scene. However, there was not enough in any of the samples that they tested to create a full profile. So somebody said to me in my comments yesterday, yeah, but we can't exclude Richard Allen based on DNA. It's like, well, no, that's not the way we got to look at it, because this is the state's case and the state has the burden of proof. So you've got to show evidence to include Richard Allen and exclude everyone else if you can. But I mean, you don't even need to go that far. You need to include Richard Allen. You need to find evidence that Richard Allen was there at that crime scene. So it's not about excluding him, it's about including him. So there's no DNA, Richard Allen. What's more important for me was any DNA or anything at all, whether it be DNA, whether it be a possession, a trophy, found in Rick Allen's property, in his yard. If you've looked at his property, he's got like a relatively small, like standard size house, and then he's got quite a lot of yard, like a lot of grass, a couple of cars, and we got a troll. We got a troll. Good stuff. We got a troll. There's a lot of trolls about at the moment. I don't know whether it's because some of the people that I had to unban last week have now come back and realised that they can talk again, because I had a big ban list and then I accidentally banned Gemma during the Lil Annie Simon trial. And then I couldn't find her in the ban list because I have so many, so I just unbanned everybody. So I don't know whether it's because we've now, I'm going to have to kind of systematically go through and ban people again as they pop up, or whether it's because the trolls are out because things are getting heated. And things are getting heated on both sides. I get it. And look, you're entitled to come here and voice your opinion as long as you're respectful and you don't mind being challenged, then fine. It's when it's disrespectful, when it's silly, when it breaks terms and conditions of YouTube, then you got to go, I'm afraid. All right. Or if you piss me off, you've got to go. Those are my rules. Yeah, the trolls are back in town. Just curious, how do you know he was a troll? Things to say, their names. People who come in and just basically write abuse, that's a troll. People who are just completely disrespectful, they're a troll. And then anybody that pisses me off, they're a troll. All right. Okay, so no DNA, and importantly, no evidence of Abby and Libby, because that would have been the killer for me. That would have been, he's the guy. That would have been the turning point for me. He's the guy. He has to be the guy, because he doesn't know Abby and Libby. It's not like the families knew each other, and Abby or Libby or both of them used to go to Richard Allen's house when they were little, and maybe that's why there's something from them there at his property. If they'd found something, a trophy, anything, that would have been it. That would have been the thing that I needed personally. But no, nothing. Well, what about the unspent round? Well, not really. Melissa Oberg, the ISP ballistics expert, could not conclusively repeat what the state claims Richard Allen did to the unspent round. That it was ejected. It was extracted and ejected, not fired. So it was unspent. And when she tried just cycling through, not firing, but just ejecting a cartridge from Richard Allen's Sig Sauer P226, she couldn't replicate, and she did loads of different attempts. She could not replicate the marks that were on the cartridge found at the crime scene. She couldn't recreate it just by cycling it through. She had to fire it. So then she says, well, once I fired it, because obviously firing it, you're blasting it out with way more pressure than you could ever do just ejecting a round. So you've got that pressure, you've got that intensity that you just don't have when a round is injected. It doesn't come out of the same part of the gun. I mean, people are like, well, yeah, well, it'll still have ejector mark, it'll still have extractor marks, but they'll be more forcefully made. And it was then she said that she got the match. But no, no, you can't compare apples with oranges. You can't. And what is more concerning for me, really concerning for me, is that they did test several other weapons. So they tested, I think, one of Ron Logan's, and they couldn't fully exclude that. She said she didn't believe the unspent round was from, I think it was a Glock that Ron Logan had. She didn't think it came from that, but she couldn't 100% exclude it. There was some weapons that had been found like in waterways that they tested, and she couldn't exclude them either. I don't know whether she could exclude some, but not all. And importantly, Brad Weber, the white van man, had a Sig Sauer, not the same model as Richard Allen, but very close, very close. And she couldn't exclude that either. So no, unspent round, no, not really. Not really. Okay, what else might we have? What else might we have? Okay, let's go. Phone data. Now, I'm not going to read all this. This all became a little bit of a conundrum. But in relation to the overall, the state's case, where they got to, and it was meant to be that aha moment, that everything, all the different strands that they've been bringing in, like cleverly, feeding us all, feeding the jury throughout the last 11 days. Day 12 and the testimony of Brian Harshman was meant to be the we got him. We got him. But no, the timeline makes zero sense. You saw the video that I put out yesterday. I hope I made it clear. We're going to do it again, and we're going to go further today. But this is the important piece of the phone data. And bear in mind, Richard Allen's phone, there's been no mention of Richard Allen's phone pinging anywhere or being anywhere or just anywhere at the scene. We've not heard anything of that. And Nick had the geofencing data from his own discovery. He had it banned. He had it banned. All right. But this is the important bit here. The last recorded movement of Libby's phone was 2:32 and then some seconds on February 13th. And where it was found under Abby's body. So the phone was under Abby's body, and according to Chris Cecil, who was the guy that testified for the phone data, the phone did not move based on the Apple Health app. It did not move past 2:32 and some seconds. What about the policeman at the press who said he thinks the person is in the room? Oh, Doug Carter in 2019. What was all that about? A Hail Mary. That's what that was about. That's what that was about. Yeah, Richard Allen was 5'4" and about 100 and £180. That sounds about right. Now, we don't know what weight he was in 2017. In his pictures that you see of him, like him and Cassie in better times, it does look like he was a bit slimmer than he was in 2022 when he was arrested. Because you got to remember, it was 5.5 years in between the crime happening and him being arrested. So I think he had put on a little bit of weight. So he may have been slimmer than 180 pounds. But 5'4". And Libby was 5'4" and 200 pounds. She doesn't look it. Doesn't look anywhere like 200 pounds. But that's what's been stated. You know, that's now in the court record. So how could you move a 200 pound dead weight? Like quite a few feet, like 10 feet, 12 feet, 20 feet. From one location where she died to another, you like pulling her by one arm. This is what has been testified to. This is what has been testified to. The blood spatter expert, Pat Cicero, said that he believed that Libby died. I'm getting ahead of myself a little, but I've got a diagram in a minute. But no, how? So keep that number, 2:32 p.m. Keep that in your head. All right, moving on. Here we go. All right, so this is the diagram. I just got a little ahead of myself. This is Loyally. So I just took a screenshot of this. So this is Pat Cicero. So we've known since last September when Frank's One came out that the phone, Libby's phone, was found under Abby's body. So it possibly makes sense. Yeah, without drag marks, without any visible drag marks whatsoever on a woodland floor. Try and drag a 200 pound weight across a woodland floor, any woodland floor of your choice, without leaving any drag marks. Try and do it. Because, you know, if you go out in the woods, you know that, you know, every fall the leaves fall down. And then over the year, they become part of the woodland floor. They become like nesting material for birds, and they become nutrition for the trees. It's all recycled. Nature's great. But it's loose. It's loose. Like trails where people and animals walk frequently, yes, it gets bedded in. But look at the crime scene. Can I go back a second here? There. Look at that. That's taken at the time. Look at that. That's all loose. Loose leaves, twigs, just woods. It's the woods. So imagine dragging a 200 pound, 5'4" dead person from, let's say, this tree to this tree without leaving any drag marks. Try and do it. Don't put your back out, though. I mean, if you physically could do it, if you absolutely physically could do it, fine. However, do it without leaving any drag marks. Okay. All right. So this diagram here. So you got to bear in mind. Oops. Gone too far. Right. Gone too far. This is a video, not slides. I keep forgetting. I have to stop it. All right. So this is the testimony of Pat Cicero. This is the F tree, or the upside down L tree, as we're now calling it. Does the F look like a handprint? Not at all. Not in my opinion. And when I did experiments trying to recreate that F, or upside down L if you prefer, you can say, oh, it's Fairhue or it's Lagoose. I don't care which rune it represents. I don't believe it's a handprint. I couldn't get my hands to create anything like. I've done the experiment with fake blood. It's on my channel. I think it's on Michelle Walks. I couldn't do it. The only way I could do it was by dipping my finger in the fake blood and then going down and then dipping it in again and going down, dipping it in again, and, you know, doing it a couple of times and then making the horizontal. Could Rick Allen have carried Libby? On his own? I think picking her up and carrying her would have been maybe easier. But remember, Libby's the same height as him. So she's heavier than him and the same height as him. So, like a fireman's lift, possibly. So he'd have to crouch down, grab her arms, and basically drag her onto his back. And then stagger, and then, like, flop her down. But if he did that, he'd be absolutely saturated in blood. Saturated. Like his entire, because she had her carotid artery severed. And a carotid artery is the arteries that take the blood to your brain. So when one of the main arteries in your body is severed, the blood pumps out. It's not just bleeding out, it's pumping out. So if he got her on his back and then staggered with her on his back, he would have been covered in blood. How on earth would he have got home without anybody knowing? Just walking along, literally covered in blood. Why would he move her at all? Why would he move her at all if it wasn't a stage scene? Somebody taking the time, positioning those bodies. Why would you do it at all? And it makes no sense as to how much time was spent with those bodies after they were dead, if, according to the state's theory, this is someone who's been disturbed and has panicked and killed them because he was disturbed, which makes zero sense, as we're going to talk about. Thank you, Purple AJ, for gifting 5 memberships. We've got Dr. Disinfect, we've got The Worst Witch, Kate, Sammy Joe, and Charlotte. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. And thank you so much, Purple AJ. You're so kind, so kind. Why move her at all if there wasn't a reason for it? If you just panicked and slit their throats so they can't talk, so they can't, you know, identify you, why spend the time moving Libby? And yeah, why not move the lighter girl? Why move the heavier girl? Why not move the lighter girl? I mean, Abby was probably, what, 100 pounds, 110 pounds? I mean, it's still pretty heavy, but much easier to move Abby. So why, if he wanted to position them together, you know, because he felt sorry and he was, he just wanted them to be laid together, why not move Abby? Anyway, so this is the F tree. So he believes Libby's attack started here, right? And he believes that she staggered, she put her hand on the tree, and that's where the marks come from, all right? But then, according to the blood spatter, it appears that she walked along here. So went southeast for several feet. And then there's a big blood pool in here. So he believes that this is where she, basically died. That she'd managed to stagger, like holding her throat, and that's why she had blood on her thighs and blood on her feet. I mean, absolutely horrific. Several feet, and then she died here. But that's not where her body was found. Thank you, Criminal Med, for the $1.99. Screaming reasonable doubt. Of course it is. Of course it is. So then, that's not where she was found. She's found like to the north, next to, with her hand, well, like her arm touching another tree. So she's got like her left arm up. So she's on her back with her left arm up and her hand is touching a tree. So drags her or carries her to here, a few feet away from Abby. So Libby's here, Abby's here. Abby doesn't have the same wounds. It's just one wound. And she probably bled out more slowly because it was the jugular vein that was cut rather than the carotid artery. And it was just one on the left side. So she'd have bled out more slowly, but she was dressed. So the point I'm getting to is that she's dressed in Libby's clothes. She's dressed in Libby's clothes. So she's either been redressed when she's been dying or when she was already dead. So the phone is under Abby. Well, I think it's because the phone, Libby maybe stuck it in her back pocket of her jeans. Or I think it would have been a back pocket, right? So she's been videoing and then they've been confronted and she's just stuck the phone in her back pocket. And when the killer has been trying to get the jeans on, the phone's slipped out and there it's led. So that all had to be completed by 2:32 because that phone didn't move after that, according to the state's theory. Does this all make sense to you? Right, good. Okay, moving on. Thank you, Pamela, for the 199 and the fox. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, moving on. Moving on. 61 confessions. No. Yes, there's been six. I haven't counted them, but according to the state, there were 61 confessions. 61 confessions. But the vast majority of them, including all of the ones that they played in the phone calls yesterday, meant to be like the highlight, like the aha moment, the gotcha moment. Question. So has it been verified that she was wearing Abby's clothes? She was wearing that day? Yes. She was wearing Libby's clothes. So Abby was found wearing her own bra, her own sports bra crop top over the top of that. She had Libby's jacket on, which was actually Kelsey's, and Libby's jeans. I don't know whether or not she had underwear on. Somebody might know, but I'm not sure. So so either she wasn't completely naked, she wasn't stripped completely naked. Maybe she kept her bra on. Again, I don't know about her lower underwear. And she had her own shoes on. Thank you, Maced Mama, for the 199. Lots of reasonable doubt. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, have we got another joker in chat? We got another joker. We got another joker. Also, Libby's bra. We're not sure. We're not sure whether she was wearing two bras, like, because there was like a normal bra and then like a sports bra, like she might have just been wearing it as a crop top. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that. But for absolute sure, like verified in the as part of the trial, that she was wearing Libby's jacket, Libby's jeans, but her own shoes. So the killer had to redress her and put her shoes back on. There is missing underwear. I mean, the rest of the clothes were found in the creek. So there were socks found in the creek. Libby's tie-dye t-shirt was found in the creek. Abby's jeans were found in the creek. Now, whether the killer just threw them in, I don't know, out of anger, or to, I don't know, get rid of DNA, get rid of evidence, or whether, I wondered whether if the girls were crossing the creek holding their claws, maybe one of them dropped the claws that they were holding. You know, because it's just as you come out, like, so you've got to go up the bank. So maybe those claws, like one of the girls was holding them and they dropped them. And a scarf, but they don't know whether that's connected. They found a pair of jeans and underwear in the water. Yeah, so one of the jeans, so that would have been Abby's jeans, had underwear kind of still like entangled in it. You know, when you like take jeans off that are fairly tight and sometimes your underwear comes with it. Well, that was it. But I think there's one pair of underwear that's not been accounted for. How were the searchers looking in the creek and didn't see the clothing? Originally, they were searching downstream, which would have been in the opposite direction, which makes sense because the first theory, and to be honest, it would have been the theory that I would have gone with. If I'd have been, you know, one of the searchers, I would have taken a look at the height of that bridge and I'd have just said they fell off that bridge. That would have been my theory. They fell off the bridge. So if they fell off the bridge into the creek and they're, you know, and they've been seriously injured, maybe they've been washed downstream, which goes west. The crime scene is actually east of the bridge. Is slow mode on? Do you want me to make it? Is, but do you want me to make it more? I don't normally get that many people in my chats. So generally speaking, I don't need to, but I can do it. Hold on. I think I've got it on 10 seconds, so I can make it more. What shall I do? 20 seconds. If that's still too fast, I'll do 25 seconds. If that's still too fast, let me know. All right. Okay. So if you look at the map, so this is the bridge. Crime scene's about here. This is just Google Maps. I've got all my pins in Google Earth, but it's easier just to share Google Maps. So the crime scene's about here. It's like this little dip. Like it's like a clearing. You can't see it very well on the map, but it's kind of like it's not thick woods anywhere. It's not really, really dense, but there's like a clearing here. So the first theory. Oh, thank you, Krista, for the $49.99. You are so incredibly kind, so generous. Thank you. I'd have taken one look at this and I've said, look at the height of that. And I would have said, they've fallen in the creek. They've fallen off the bridge and into the creek. And this is where I'd be searching. I'd be searching down here. That if it's not terribly deep, but if they were injured, then, you know, the flow is going west because it joins the Wabash River somewhere up here. So they were actually, the ones that were searching the water were searching downstream, but the crime scene's like around this bend and here. So the claws were found in this area and then crime scene's here. I mean, look, that's really steep there, but then it tapers off and it's easy to climb up that side of the bank. So it's here. Anyhow, the confessions. The hollow area had more cover to conceal the girls. It didn't though. It didn't though. It was a clearing. So if we go back to this picture, you can see what I mean. How will I not let me go back? There. That's not dense coverage. That's a whole clearing. Like I said, the entire wood isn't dense. I mean, obviously, in summer, it's going to look denser, but in February, there's no leaves on the trees. And this is open. This is open. I mean, it's like a little, yeah, there's a little bit of a depression before you start going up the hill. That's up towards the cemetery and Ron Logan's area. I mean, this is all Ron Logan's area. This is all his land, but I mean, up to his house. But no, it's open. It's not like a big, massive forest. I mean, anybody, I would imagine, coming over this hill would have seen them. I think even on the bridge, you possibly would have seen them. Is Webber an ordinist? I don't know. I do not know. All right. So the details on Nicola Bono. So the details that came out yesterday that he'd told Kathy and his mother, they were all vague, all very vague, no details whatsoever. All, I did it. Oh, I think I did it. I must have done it. So not even sure. Not even sure. I must have done it. No. And then one of the calls to his dad, which was made a few hours before he started confessing to Kathy, was disallowed. The prosecution wouldn't play it. The defense said, no, play that one. Play the one he made to his dad in the middle of the night, like something past 3 a.m., a few hours before he confessed, I did it, to Kathy. And the prosecution wouldn't. And Judge Gull said, no, they don't have to play it. Don't have to play it. It became a little bit of a legal issue. And it's still a legal issue. Because if the defense want to play it, to play that call, it's then their case in chief. It becomes hearsay, and Richard Allen would have to be the one to testify to it. But anyway, that's an aside. A few hours before he made this nondescript confession to Kathy, he called his dad and he'd said that he felt that he was losing his mind and he felt tortured. So no, they didn't play that one in court, but they played the confessions one. And they played, I think, 7 calls out of either 700 calls or 700 hours of calls. They just cherry pick the ones where he says, I did it. I must have done it. I think I did it. Because he's losing his mind. Losing his mind. So there's 2 details that we need to think about. One of the guards, this would be going back, 2-3 days. One of the guards testified that he'd said, actually the warden Gallipot, who said that Richard Allen had told him that he murdered the girls with a box cutter, and he'd thrown the box cutter in the dumpster at the CVS. And then, hey presto, the medical examiner, who I absolutely convinced was nobbled, testified that Libby's wounds, instead of being committed by a weapon with a serrated edge, which is what he testified in deposition to the defense to in February, instead he said, oh, it could have been a box cutter, like the handle of either a steak knife or a box cutter. So there you go. There's a detail that Richard Allen said that only the killer would know. But it gets worse. Or does it? Or does it? Because we've got a whole bunch of confessions. This one's interesting. All right. Who didn't the state call to testify? Who didn't the state call to testify? The inmate suicide companions, that's who. Thank you, Carol, for the £5. Very kind. Why? Well, might have been maybe because inmates wouldn't have been deemed credible witnesses. Or could it be that everything that Richard Allen said to them was absolute complete nonsense, clearly untrue, such as, come on, do it. I killed my whole family. I killed my grandchildren. That's what he was telling the inmate companions. They got fired and it was the guards that took over. Okay. So he's in this period of psychosis, testified to by the very notes of Dr. Waller. During his psychosis, he's saying things like, am I already dead? How do I prove I'm sane? How can I go home? Am I in jail? I'm not racist. Please help me. Please, God, help me. I cheated on a cigarette. I had KFC. All like random shit. Random shit. All right. Moving on.
Didn't see him bang his head. Didn't see the.
All right. So this is one of the guards. This is Andrea Burkhart talking about one of the guards. This is only. I'm only going to play a little bit of this.
Didn't see him rubbing feces on himself or eating feces, but he heard about it. So Mr. McLeland asked, when observing his change in behavior, did you believe it to be genuine? You guys thought I was kidding. You really did. When I brought this up about this whole skilled witness thing in Indiana, a lot of people thought I was kidding. That because this is so horrifying. This is unbelievable that a prison guard with no education whatsoever is going to get to opine on whether somebody is faking mental illness. Yeah, they did. Yeah, Judge Gull allowed that.
Yeah, Judge Gull allowed that. Judge Gull allowed that. So all these guards who testified first were all like, oh, they're there as this skilled person to testify that he was faking. So he's unbelievable. However, more damaging, arguably the most damaging confession came from the testimony of Dr. Monica Waller, who is this clinical psychologist, no longer works at Westville. I can't understand why. No longer works at Westville. And was a Delphi fangirl. She's a Delphi fangirl before she ever set eyes on Richard Allen. She was in the groups. She was in the Facebook groups. She was browsing Reddit. She was all over, picking, all the theories. And she was in one of the most controversial Delphi Facebook groups. She was in a bunch of them. But she's in one that's completely uncensored. It's just people talking about all sorts. And she's there soaking it all in. She knows all the things that we're going to talk about in a minute. If you want my full analysis of Dr. Waller, I did a live stream a couple of days ago talking the whole live was about it. So this is the confession that is the creme de la creme of confessions. This is the one. And this is Dr. Waller testifying about what Richard Allen told her on May the 3rd, 2023. We've also got to remember that this is Dr. Waller telling the court what Richard Allen said. We have no idea what Richard Allen actually said. No idea what he actually said. This is what she's testifying as to what he said. So he said, went to see his parents in the morning, didn't go out to lunch with them. So he decided to buy a 6-pack of beer, drunk 3 of them, then drove to the trails and followed Abby and Libby to the bridge. Then he said, I messed with the gun. I guess that's when the bullet fell out. That's when I ordered the girls down the hill. All right, okay, right. Let's get this map here. Right, so I'm going to show you some clips of what this actually looks like in a minute. So supposedly, Richard Allen follows the girls across the bridge to the south side, says, guys down the hill. And at this point, he's messing with his gun, and that's where the bullet must have fell out, he says. So you're either thinking, well, either at the south end of the bridge or maybe as they went down the hill. Was the bullet, the unspent round, found there? No. The unspent round was found over here. So this magic bullet had to make its way from here, get down the hill itself, swim across the creek, because remember, it's only a little tiny thing. You can't wade across, it's got to swim. So it swims across, or it flies. I mean, I don't know, maybe it had wings. And then it embedded itself into the ground in between the bodies of Abby and Libby. Amazing. I mean, that's some feat of technology, that is. All right, okay. That didn't happen, did it? No. Good. Okay. So that detail's wrong. Now, here's the thing that they all jumped on. This is the thing where, he must be guilty because this is the very detail that only the killer would know. All right. He saw a man or heard a van. We now know it was heard a van. We think it was because no one can hear a thing in the courtroom. And that's what scared him. Scared him not to rape them. Instead, he forced the girls down the hill, across the creek, slashed their throats, covered their bodies with tree branches, and walked back to his car. So he got scared. All right. So, okay. So a man with a van drives by. So this is where Brad Webber. So it's North 625 West. That's the name of the road. And it runs under the south side of the Monon High Bridge. Hello, Yvonne. Member for 23 months. Oh, no, 24 months. You got your OG badge. Hey, you got your OG badge. Good stuff. All right. So this road here becomes a private drive for the Webber property, right, which is the end of this road. And this is owned by Kay Webber. Her son is Brad Webber. Now, at the time of the murders, Kay was not there. Kay has 2 properties, and she was at her other property, which I believe is in Arizona. And Brad was staying there. Now, I don't know whether Brad lived there or he was just staying there. I'm not really sure about the to-in and fro-in that Brad was doing. But he's staying there while his mother's away. So Brad is not the landowner. He's the landowner's son. Angie, baby, you've got to be a member for 15 months. Great chat. All right. So, Brad Webber. We're gonna talk all about Brad Webber in a minute, but he drives by. Just according to the state theory, he drives by between 2:27 and 2:30. Drives by. And this road goes under the very southern end of the bridge. So instead of raping them here, right, presumably, which was his intent, he gets scared, and instead of running away, which is usually what perps do when they get disturbed, they usually run away. But no, not Richard Allen, according to state's theory. So the van has been and gone by this time. So instead, he walks them down the hill to the creek. They were all wade across the creek, up the other side. He slashes their throats, moves Libby without leaving any drag marks whatsoever, dresses Abby in Libby's clothes, all by 2:32. Why do we know that's by 2:32? Because the phone does not move after 2:32 and some seconds. So if Brad Weather passed by at 2:30, so at 2:30, Richard Allen gets scared, orders the girls across the creek, so down here, across the creek, up the other side, murders them, and redresses Abby all in 2 minutes. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Because that is what was testified to in court. All right, let's just take a pause here and let's just have a look at what this bridge actually looks like. So, where's it gone? Just, why are you not? We got some pictures. Here we go. Okay, I've got some pictures here. Right. So I got these screenshots from Criminalities Live yesterday afternoon, but I think I found the video that these come from. I think I have. And I've got a couple of other videos as well to show you of what down the hill actually looks like for those who've never seen it before. So this is the very south side of the bridge. So Libby would have been standing about here, apparently, and then walking along here. And then down the hill, this is from platform 6. So you can see that down the hill is this small road, like a track. And that goes to the Webber property. So it's this track that Brad Webber drove along that scared Richard Allen to take the girls down the hill, across the creek, up the other side, murders them, and redresses Abby within all 2 minutes. Okay. So I believe that this possibly is the video that those screenshots came from. Now, there's loads of videos of people, you know, before the bridge got its makeover. You can't do it now. You can't walk all the way across it now. Yeah, and leaves no DNA. Yeah. Yeah. You can't do it now because the north side, which like comes off the trail, you can go out to, I think, as far as the first platform, and then it's all like cordoned off. It's like got sides now. But in the old days, you used to be able to walk all the way across it. And this person, what's her name? Katie. This is it's an interesting video. This is her walking across the bridge, and she did it in about 8 minutes. But she said, I think she said she could do it quicker. But let's just listen to this last minute of this, because it shows you what the drive looks like and how steep it is.
Platform 6.
So there's platform 6. So I think that that picture that I've just shown you is that, possibly. But as I said, you know, loads of people have gone down the hill. So you can see the road. So it goes under the bridge, and then it comes out the other side, and then it goes up to Kay Webber's property. So it actually goes under the bridge and then up Kay Webber's property. So if you stand on platform 6, you can see this road. All right.
Platform 6.
And that's right near the end of
Approaching the end of the bridge. Ties get a little better. Walk quicker. End of the bridge. Weird tree creaking. Freaked me the fuck out here alone. All right, so right here is the hill he ordered them down.
There you go. So that's the hill. There's the road that's gone under the bridge. So she's standing here. She's come off the bridge, which goes a little bit further. You can't see it on the map. So comes off the bridge. And then if you turn in an eastwardly direction, you go down a small hill, across this private drive, and then you've got to kind of presumably walk down here to go to the creek. So can you see? So you've got to go down. This is the road. And then you can just about, I think, see the creek there.
Private driveway they crossed. And eventually on the other side, you hit Deer Creek, and that's where they were found on the other side. But when Libby recorded him, she was standing right here. Right up.
There you go. So you have Bridge Guy, the original Bridge Guy before he got his AI makeover, is way back over here. Libby's standing here, and he's way back over here somewhere. So you can see the road underneath the bridge there, and then up here, right to the north side, is Deer Creek. This road goes to the Webber's house. This road goes to the Webber's house. Now, she doesn't show it, but I do have someone else that does. All right, so this is someone called Who's Your Cold Case? Who's Your Cold Cases? I think his name is. So he actually goes down to the private drive and he shows the house, like in the distance. So this is the south side. So he's standing on the south side. That's the north side over there. Obviously, you can see it's summer, so it looks very different. So obviously in summer, you've got a lot of coverage by the leaves. Not so in February. So in February, all of this is open. So if you're standing on this bridge, you can look down onto this crime scene. All right, so I'm just going to play a little bit here where he goes down from the south side down to the private drive.
Oh, God, I can't walk this.
Oh, God, I can't walk this.
Wish I could because it'd be a lot easier. So look.
There's down the hill. There's down the hill. So turning east off the bridge. There's the private drive. Beyond that, up there is the creek. So is this, like the topography, you've got to understand it. So down the hill is not a long down the hill. This is a short, steep bit, and then it meanders down, I think, to the creek. But this is supposedly where Richard Allen got scared. So he fumbles with his gun, drops his unspent round, supposedly, here, which wasn't found here, but anyway. He's going to rape the girls at this point. But a van drives by. So the van drives by, the van's been and gone, but he's scared now. So instead, marches them down, over the creek, up the other side, murders them, redresses Abby in 2 minutes. Okay, cool.
That's... You could slide down that, but God. Oh. Man, nightmare.
I don't think he fancies sliding.
Older dude. Fuck no.
I'd have just slid down that. But that's me. All right, so we see the Webber's house. So instead of going down the hill there, he walks. There's like a area where you can walk here. So the links to all of these are in the description. So you can go and watch this all for yourself if you want. So you can still see the private drive there. So he's kind of walking up parallel to it. And then up here, that's where the Webber's house is.
don't see any horses. Oh, there might be. That's K. Weber's, though.
That's K. Weber. So, where he's gone. So, instead of going, so he's come off here. Instead of going down the hill here and across in here, he's carried on walking. And you can see like this field here. So, this is the Weber property. So, I thought it was just good just to get a visual of where we're actually talking. So, when this van passes by, where's it actually passing? And according to the state's theory, where would Richard Allen be and the girls at that point? Where can you find this video? You can find the link to it in the description box of this video. So I've got all the links. It's called, so that's Katie's one, a complete walkthrough of the Monon High Bridge. And then who's your cold case is Delphi Murders Bridge to Shoe Tree. So just find that in the description box and there it is. So just click on it. All right. Okay, moving on. So potentially damaging. However, let's take a look at Dr. Waller's notes, shall we? Let's look at her notes. So, 4th of April, Dr. Waller notes he's poor, critical, deteriorating, suicidal ideation, delusions. States death would bring relief, insomnia, hopelessness. And then the photo that the defense took of Rick at this point, that was the actual time that picture. So he'd lost probably about a third of his body weight. 12th of April, Dr. Waller notes, more critical, self-harming. So he's banging his head into the wall. He's rolling in his feces. He's eating his feces. Takes a running start in cell. Crashes his head and face into the concrete wall. Emergency Haldol shot given. 14th of April. So this is all the time when these confessions were coming out, thick and fast, to anybody who would listen. Dr. Waller notes, this is the 14th, notes grave disability, consuming and covering himself in feces. Same day, 14th, hearing to determine if involuntary meds needed. So they eventually decide that he does need them. So they give him Haldol injections. All right, we've got more though. We've got more. 20th of April, Dr. Waller notes disjointed thoughts. Still going downhill. Not literally down the hill, but downhill in his mental health. Has a conversation related to competency to stand trial. Now, obviously, at this point, they were still hoping to go to trial in May. And that changed. So that conversation was irrelevant. 23rd of April, inmate suicide companions replaced by guards. You can read more, there's way more. But the point I'm making here, this is the month where she is saying, now, in her testimony in court, she said to the prosecutor that she believed Rick Allen was faking it for attention. These words come from her actual notes. So when you say poor, critical, deteriorating, suicide ideation, delusions, state's death will be a relief, insomnia, hopelessness. This is before May. This is just April. In May, she notes he's got bulging eyes, and he has bulging eyes for like a couple of months. More critical, self-harming, grave disability, disjointed thoughts, still going downhill, involuntary medication. Look, this is the very time when all of these confessions were made. But people still say, yeah, but he gave a detail that only the killer would know. Doesn't matter how ill he was, he still knew about the van. And how could he have known about the van? Testified by Brian Harshman yesterday, star witness. How could Rick Allen possibly have known about the van if he wasn't the killer? Because Brian Harshman didn't even know about the van. It wasn't even known about till he discovered the van. Bullshit. Absolute complete effing bullshit. And I'll show you for why. Let me show you for why. But first of all, if you've missed a little, you missed a little. Let's just backtrack a day and talk about the white van man. So, this would have been the end of day 11, I think. State prosecutor Nick McClelland called Brad Webber to the stand. Brad Webber is a Carroll County resident who lives in off County Road 625 West. All right, it's his mother's property. Kay Webber, she's not there all the time. Brad Webber is her son. Okay, so, all right. He works at the Subaru plant in Lafayette. And he was working on February 13th, 2017, the day of the murders. So, accordingly, he states he's got an alibi. Right. So, it's clock in and clock out cards for him. So, he actually was at work when he said he was at work. He clocked in at 5:41 a.m. and he clocked out at 2:02 p.m. And he said it took approximately 20 to 25 minutes to get home. Now, I have the screenshot, but I've not got it on this presentation. But somebody replied to, I had this in my video yesterday, somebody replied and said that one of her family members actually works at that Subaru plant. And if you clock out, there's no way that you're going to be able to set off. If once you've clocked out, you got to wait. Like, you can't just clock out and then instantly jump in your vehicle. You got to get to your vehicle. And then there's lights that you've got to wait for. So he's not going to be able to set off at 2:02 p.m. All right. So just bear that in mind. All right. So he claims that he got home. Or rather, the state claims he got home between 2:27 and 2:30. So he'd be passing by under the bridge shortly before 2:30. That's according to what the state claims. All right. Under cross-examination, Andrew Baldwin, who actually knows the case, questioned him and said, isn't it true that in a statement that you gave to law enforcement just a few days after the murders, because, you better believe that this man was shaken upside down. The property was searched multiple times. They took his gun and tested it. That was the 6 hour. That was the other 6 hour they tested. It was this man's gun. And guess what? Melissa Oberg could not exclude his gun from being the one that cycled the unspent round through. Couldn't exclude it. But they had nothing on him. Because they searched the property. They got his time cards from work. And look, he clocked out at 2:02. He can't possibly be bridge guy. So they just left it. He can't be bridge guy. He really does look like bridge guy, does. But he can't be bridge guy. He can't be. Because he was in Lafayette, and he genuinely was in Lafayette at 2:02 p.m. But it gets worse. Because a few days after the murders, he was interviewed by law enforcement, and he said he didn't get home before 3:30. Didn't get home before 3:30 because when he left work, he didn't go straight home. Supposedly or something, he went to fix some ATM machines. And Andrew Baldwin brought that up to him, and he went mad. He screamed, according to this text is from Wish TV's blog. Screamed. No, that's not correct. Brian Harshman yesterday said that he didn't know. No one knew. This was all new information. Like when he heard Richard Allen confess, when he heard Richard Allen confess, and he looked at Dr. Waller's report, and he thought, oh, we've got to investigate whether there was a van that passed by, and he found Brad Weber, and and you know, he basically brought the case. Brian Harshman, in his mind, thinks he brought the case, but Brian Harshman had only been working on the case, listening to Richard Allen's calls and reading the reports that were coming in. He was not in this case, wasn't privy, didn't care to investigate what had been done earlier in the case. So Brian Harshman reinvented the wheel, because this van and Brad Weber have been known about since the beginning of the case. And so has social media known about it. All right, that's just his route. So Subaru plant down here. His the pin that I've put in is the intersection of the bridge and County Road 625. That's the pin. And 31 minutes is your fastest route. So even if he got out at 2:02 and he floored it, he absolutely floored it, maybe, just maybe, you could get home around 2:30. But he told law enforcement in the days after the murders that he did not get home until 3:30 because he was fixing ATM machines. All right, so that is the true bombshell. The true bombshell. Oh, I've gone too far. The true bombshell is this. No. The true bombshell is this. This van has become the state's own case. However, everybody, if you've known this case, if you've been around in the Facebook groups and the Reddit groups, you know, in the early days, before Richard Allen, even before Kegan Kline was a thing, you'll know about the van. You'll know about, there was loads of vans. There's a Dodge van or a truck that was suspicious. There's been a whole bunch of suspicious vehicles that have been discussed by social media over the years. Remember, this case is almost 8 years old. It's a complicated case with many tentacles. It absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely is. Hold on, let me take my hoodie off. I'm boiling. All right. So Brad Weber screams in court, flips his lid when Andrew Baldwin reminds him that in the early days of the case, he said he got home at 3:30. He went repairing ATM machines. Mommy of Huskies. Didn't your name used to be Mommy of Hamsters? I'm sure it did. But anyway, 27 months. OG, fear for RA's life. I feared for his life for a long time. I don't think they could dare to kill him, though, honestly. I think there's too many people watching. The world is watching. The world is watching. Social media's been watching. All right. These screenshots, a couple of screenshots here that I got from Criminalities Live. Except Brian Harshman, who thinks he's beaten Richard Allen here. Like, he was the state's, he was the state's star witness. Now, I got this from Criminality's Live yesterday. Criminality's excellent because she saves like screenshots. She saves everything. She basically saves everything. She's got folders for everything. I'm not that organized. I need to get organized because I read stuff and think, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I remember that. And then I don't screenshot it. I don't remember it. Or when I screenshot it, I don't remember where I've saved it. I mean, I'm bad. I've like ADHD brain. I'm just bad, right? Not diagnosed, but definitely am, right? So I'm so glad that people like Criminality exist who save everything, because you never know when that screenshot that you saved years ago will come in handy. Now, this is from Criminality, as I said, and this is just somebody talking 4 years ago. Now, I don't know whether that was 4 years ago, literally. It was 4 years before the screenshot was taken. So this could be 6 years ago, it could be 7 years ago, who knows? But this is just somebody talking. The owner's son, Brad, was at work. He arrived home shortly after 3:30. So no one was home around 2:30 when BG and the girls lightly crossed the creek. This was on social media. I'm assuming that looks like Reddit. I'm not sure. It looks like Reddit, though. Yeah. She does a much better job than Delphi PD. Yeah, Teresa's fence has fallen over. Look, it took me a long time to get off the fence. I'm not going to say anything. It took me a long time. I'm off the fence now, but it took me a long time. So this was known. So if Monica Waller, the Delphi fangirl, was rooting around in Reddit, and she's been in Reddit and in Facebook groups for years, she'd have known about Brad Webber. She'd have known about the van. She'd have known the little details, maybe possibly during her cozy chats in the cage with Richard Allen, to just feed him little details. Is it beyond belief that she'd be chatting to him about the case? Because she's a fangirl, chatting to him about the case, chatting to him about what she's seen on social media, telling him that, you know, lots of people support him, telling him all these things, ingratiating him, getting him to trust her while she's drip feeding him little details. Is it beyond credibility for something like that to have happened? Kay Webber used to chat in the early days. Mother of Brad Webber. This is Kay Sanders Webber. That's her full name. So this looks like a Facebook chat, I think. So this is talking about the investigation, chatting to somebody about the investigation. So Kay will be this one, and then the reply is this one. So not only did we have swabbing, we had lie detectors. So presumably they had the DNA taken. Sorry to hear that. I was shocked and very surprised when I was asked to sign off and release all of the trash that was collected from the front area on Monday. So this is right after the murders. My poor son has been put through the ringer. He even had his mother asking him if he was involved. So Kay asked him if he was involved, because, you know, Brad has got a bit of a history. He's got a history of threatening people with guns. He's got a history of, you know, basically being a bit of an arse. And Kay wasn't there. Kay was in Arizona. Kay flew back. As soon as she heard about all of this, she flew back. Because she speculated, she thought, she was concerned that her son might be involved because she wasn't there. But the point here is, this van was known about on social media. The people, the very people concerned, Gay Webber, was talking to people on social media. The details have been there since days after the murders about Brad Webber, about his time, where he was, and what time he got home. And that's what he told the cops in February of 2017, that he got home at 3:30. So if he lied in 2017, and that's why he was pissed off at Andrew Baldwin mentioning it, if he lied in 2017 and he's telling the truth now, how do we know which story to believe? Because how do we know he wasn't telling the truth in 2017 and he's lying now? And if he's lying now, why is he lying now? Don't know. All right, this is Defence Diaries. I'm going to play a little couple of clips from Defence Diaries. Because, you know, we've got... I'm not actually going to play this, but we've got channels like this, you know, mainstream, local media, WTHR, and WTHR and Wish TV, they're doing live blogs and, you know, they're tweeting a lot, which is great, which is fantastic. And this is then, they're doing this nightly show now of everything that happened in the day. They've got a legal expert on who's okay, but they're not going into the details that the people who are listening to this type of media, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it is just the opinion of the reporters in the courtroom, and they are leaning towards Richard Allen being guilty. That's what they're leaning. So they're concentrating on the testimony. They're not digging like us sleuths are. Yeah, they've been relatively unbiased because they have this legal expert on who is much more considered. Where is she? This woman. I quite like her. She's very quite neutral and, you know, picking up on the defense side. But what they're not doing is digging. What they're not doing is telling their viewers that what came out in court wasn't a bombshell because the locals were talking back in February of 2017. The locals were talking about the investigation. We knew what time Brad Webber said he got home to the cops in 2017. So although the mainstream media, I think, are doing a good job, and they're doing a decent job, they're only reporting what is being said in court, and then they are and then they're leaving it at that. And that then leads the listener or the reader to believe that this is a massive shocking development and Richard Allen's guilty. But no. And then we've got people like Defence Diaries and Andrew Burkhart and Lawyer Lee, who are working really, really hard. They're in the courtroom all day, and then they do lives at night. And Andrea's go on for hours. And they're literally reading their notes that they took. So you're getting a much deeper analysis listening to the people who were in court. I mean, I listen to both. I listen to those, and I've been watching like news reports, Court TV, and things like that. I do THR. But what you also have to factor in is that local knowledge that has been out on social media since February of 2017. And Brad Webber and what time he got home and various vehicles have been out there in social media land since the very beginning. So Monica Waller, being this fangirl will have known all of this. So Richard Allen will be able to get some stuff from his discovery. You know, just looking at the crime scene pictures, and he sees the girls there. The court hasn't heard about the stuff that he told the inmate suicide companions, that he killed his own family, that he killed his grandchildren. Oh, there was more, that he shot the girls in the back. That was another one. That he buried them in a shallow grave. That was another one. They have not included that testimony in court because it doesn't fit their theory. So people who are just watching mainstream media, reading the live blog, yeah, you're getting some useful stuff. You're getting the skeleton, but what you're not seeing is the full picture. And that is why you are shameful if you come into my comments telling me that I've not done my research, telling me that I don't know the case, telling me that I'm biased, telling me that I need to, I need to stop reporting on the case because I'm just twisting the facts. So which is it? I either don't know the facts and I need to do my research, or I'm twisting the facts. Which is it? No. No. You wouldn't believe how many hours per day I am spending on the Delphi case. And I'm not even in the courtroom. I wish I was. But I'm 4,000 some miles away. So we're all relying on these people. The ones who are giving us the most detailed notes. All right, I'm going to play a couple of short clips from Defense Diaries from last night. I think he meant McClelland there when he said Rosie made another objection because it was Brad Rosie's cross of Harshman. Oh, sorry. I've been playing this. Hold on. I've been playing Defense Diaries. It's only like a couple of minute clip. Sorry, guys. So remember this. Posted on social media. Remember this. Kay Webber talking on social media. All right. And now we're to Defense Diaries. Sorry, I wasn't sharing the right screen, but I am now. All right. So this is a couple of minutes clip. This is talking about Brad Rosie cross-examining Brian Harshman about Brad Webber and all this amazing finding of the van. And Brian Harshman, poor Brian Harshman, the state's star witness, just reinvented the wheel.
He says, okay, did you read the interview with Brad Webber and Mullen? And then Rosie makes another objection. And he says, hearsay. And then he says, I have a preliminary question. He's like, did you confirm his work history? Brad said, he's like, did you confirm that he owned the van? And he says, no. He says he didn't confirm his work history, that wasn't his thing. Like he wasn't the one who talked to him. He's like, you viewed the records. He's like, you viewed the reports. He's like, were any of the reports, are you aware of any of the reports regarding a van being posted on social media? And he's like, I'm not aware of that. He's like, would it surprise you to know that they were? Like early on in the investigation? And he's like, I was not aware of that. And he says, I
wonder if jurors were writing. That's where I would have looked immediately.
Yeah, they were jotting that down.
I was like, thank God. Thank God.
And he says,
yeah, thank God. Thank God. So Brad Rosie got it in cross-examination. Are you aware that information about Brad Weber, about his van, about his work, were posted on social media in the early days. And he said, no, I wasn't aware of that. Okay, another little clip here.
He's like, well, he's like, Brad Weber's not a credible human being. He's like, right, correct. He's like, no, I think he's credible. And he said, for this timeline to work, he said, you absolutely.
So Brian Harshman testified under cross-examination that Brad Weber is a credible individual. Okay. Well, he either lied in 2017 or he's lying now. So which is it?
You need that van to be there at that time, don't you?
Need that van to be there at that time. They do. They do.
And he says, yes. And then he says, and then Brad gets some shit in. He's like, and you heard, he says that you heard that they seized a gun from Brad Weber, correct? And Cleveland stands up, objecting. Objection. He's like, this is going against the motion to eliminate. And Brad puts it in. Yeah, he's like, because Brad Weber's one of the guys you can't bring up.
I don't know that he is. Like the people who were named in the motion in limine, which was granted by Judge Gull, Brad Weber wasn't listed. It was Brad Holder, Patrick Westphal, Elvis Fields, Johnny Messer, Ned Abrams, Kegan Klein, Tony Klein, and Ron Logan. Brad Weber wasn't listed. But anyway, Nick McClelland objected anyway. Objection.
And he says, and at one point, Brad Weber was a suspect, correct? And McClelland's objecting furiously, and Brad's getting the shit in. It was
the judge was overruling it?
No, she sustained it. Like I thought, and then they had a sidebar.
I thought he was going to get. I'm going to hold you in contempt.
Right, like that didn't happen. Like he got it in.
This police.
She got it in. He got it in. So the jury heard that as well. Thank you, Teresa, for the $5. Thank you so much. So that's right at the end. That's the cross-examination of the state's final witness, their star witness. And Brad Rosie was able to just say, were you aware that all of this that supposedly was what only the killer would know had been out in social media for the fangirls and the fanboys of Delphi since February of 2017. So the lovely Dr. Monica Waller, who, Richard Allen was talking to on a daily basis, she's going seeing him on a daily basis. When did she stop seeing him on his daily basis? Oh, when he'd made enough confessions. When he'd made a confession, that would stick. When he'd learnt a detail that they could claim only the killer would know. Fed to him. I bet you any money was fed to him by Waller. The stuff that he didn't get from the discovery, the stuff, all of this, I killed my family, I killed my grandchildren, I buried them, I shot them, all of that wasn't good enough. So they had to drip feed him. And I think they got him to confess with kindness rather than with torture. The harsh conditions, the horrendous state that they kept him in for months didn't do it. So what they did, I believe, they got somebody he could trust. That was Monica Waller, his psychologist, who drip fed him information. And finally, through the psychotic state that he was in, he said what they needed. They said what they needed. All right, this is Andrea from last night, Andrea Burkhart. And this is her summary of the state's case.
Police officer on the stand saying he looked at all the reports about Brad Weber back in 2017. You missed the one where he told the story about the day and what he did? No, they didn't miss it. They wanted to revise it. Yeah, that's right. This ain't going well.
Yeah, They wanted to revise it. They wanted to revise it. So, yeah, they knew full well. Maybe Brian Harshman didn't. I think he's just a useful idiot. Brian Harshman just sat there for hours and hours and hours listening to Richard Allen. He's just a useful idiot. But the people in the prosecutor's office would absolutely know. Stephen Mullin, who was Delphi police chief, absolutely would know what Brad Webber said. Works in the prosecutor's office now. Nick McClellan would know what Brad Webber said in 2017. So they rewrote history. And at that point, the state rested. Not that they'd ever really woken up. All right, final clip. This is Andrea again from last night.
This isn't your day. This isn't your day. You're not on your game. You didn't pay attention to your evidence. This stuff this was supposed to be the climax of your case, these confessions. And you're bumbling and stumbling over them. And when we're listening to them, we're just horrified because we are hearing a clearly broken man and his clearly distraught wife who sees how broken he is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if we can see it, I hope the jury can see it. But I don't know. I don't know. Because there's so many people who are willing just to say he confessed. And they're just not digging that little bit deeper. They're just not digging, but it's all there. It's all there to show that this case is rotten to the very core. Jackie, thank you for the £2. Been listening and trusting my opinion since Nicola Bully. Cool. All right, final thing I want to show you. I'm actually not really going to play it, but I'm just going to show you. This Vinnie Politan from Court TV has been doing shows on the Delphi case. Bob's been on quite a few times. He was on last night. Barbara MacDonald has been on, and pretty good. I enjoyed it. Pretty fair. They had a false confessions expert on. So he was on with Barbara MacDonald. So this guy, it was very generic. I just want to say he was very generic. Look at Vinny's face. He was very generic, but overall, it's worth a listen. So that's Court TV, Vinnie Politan Investigates. I'm not going to play it, but I've put the link in the description box. So in summary, what I'm going to say here is the state's case is over. The state's case has been shocking. They had no evidence whatsoever against Richard Allen when they arrested him. And there's still no evidence against him. They had to get him to confess. They had to. They had no other choice. They had to get him to confess. And they did that by putting him in a maximum security box, cage, for 13 months. But after, 5 months into that horrific torture, he lost his mind and entered a state of temporary psychosis. At that point, the person that he trusted, his psychologist, Monica Waller, drip-fed him information that she'd known since the year dot because she was a Delphi fangirl. She was a useful idiot. Brian Harshman, who listened to all of these phone calls, was another useful idiot. The people who are in control of this, who don't want the truth to come out, you've got to question why. Phenomenal. Remember, for 15 months. It's sad for Libby and Abbott. It absolutely is. They deserve the best investigators, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a perfect way to summarize that. For whatever reason, this sham of a trial, the arrest of Richard Allen has been allowed to become the monster that it is an absolute travesty, not only for Richard Allen and for Kathy Allen and for Janice and Ken, not only for them, but for Abby and Libby and their families sitting through all of this. And it's an absolute sham. And you've got to say, why? Is it because they just needed this case done and Richard Allen was the fall guy? Yeah, probably. Did they realize that this case was never going to get solved? Liggett was about to, face the sheriff's election, and he wanted the case done because it would give him some brownie points in the electorate. And I think it was just, I think that volunteer who was, I don't know what she was doing with those tips, like sorting out the tips. I think maybe a little word was said to her, like, if you see any tips that you think are of interest that we might have missed, just tell us. And she found Richard Allen, and Richard Allen was the fall guy. He was the perfect guy. He was the perfect guy. If you squint, he vaguely looks a bit like Bridge Guy. He was there, said he was there. He's just a regular guy. And they were able to take it all the way to where it is now. And I think it just fit a lot of people's agendas. It covered up the incompetence of Carroll County and Delphi PD, who lost a lot of interviews, and the ISP. It covered up their incompetence. To have a fall guy covered up their incompetence. And it may not even go any more malevolent than that. It could be possible that people in law enforcement are covering up the real killers. Those things have been done before. We know those things have been done before. But we may never know the truth. Because I think if the jury convicts Richard Allen, that'll be it. Yes, he can appeal, but his life's over. His life's over. If they find him not guilty and he's acquitted, they'll just say, well, our man got away. The killer got away. So they can just, case closed. The killer got away. The jury acquitted him. Whichever way this coin toss goes, it's a sad, sad, sad day. Whichever way it goes, it's a sad day for someone. And I can't call it. I can't call the way that this jury is gonna go. It's a coin toss. And that is tragic. It's tragic to say that this case is going to be a tragedy whichever way it goes. Because if Richard Allen is found guilty, in my opinion, an innocent man has been convicted and his life is over. If he's acquitted, Abby and Libby's families will never feel that they've got justice. If Richard Allen's convicted, they may feel that they've got justice. I don't believe they have personally, because in my opinion, the actual killer or killers is still out there. But they may feel they've got justice. If Richard Allen's acquitted, they may feel they'll never get justice. Again, because, in my opinion, the real killers are still out there. So there you go. There you go. So we are into day 13 of the defence's case in chief. Before I let you go, I'm just going to have a quick shufty on Twitter. Thank you, Jadzia, for being a member for 7 months. 7 months. I'm just going to check Twitter here just to see. They'll have had the morning break by now. So just let's see if there is any news. So have a look. May not be yet. What time is it in Indiana? 11 o'clock in Indiana. Oh, defense diaries. Half an hour ago. Let's play this. 3 minutes. Let's just play this. Oh, Snap Ginger. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. All right, so I'm just going to play this 3 minutes. I'm assuming this will be the morning break update from Bob. Is he actually?
Hey guys, good morning. I'm going to give a quick update. We're on a short break. We've had a couple of different breaks. This one is actually a recess. So we've had 3 witnesses on the stand thus far. The first witness was a cop from Hammond PD, last name Goote, Goote. He had worked with he was partnered up with a Fed in the first 2 weeks of the investigation. He was doing canvassing and interviewing witnesses. He was with the Fed when they interviewed Brad Weber. And we're again on the defense's case in chief. So the defense had to call him on direct.
This is Bob from Defense Diaries. That's who's talking. He's in court. They've had a brief recess for the morning break. He's just hopping on here just to give a quick update on what happened in the first session.
If you know anything about the law in terms of trial work, it is extremely difficult for defense attorneys to give direct examination of a cop. They're not friendly witnesses. This guy absolutely stonewalled the defense. She had tried to refresh his recollection with a FBI 302 form, which is basically one of their forms that they use for interviews. She tried to refresh his recollection. He claimed that it was. When she went to go ask about where Brad Weber went after work, he originally stated home. She said, did he go anywhere else? He said, I don't remember. She said, I just refreshed your recollection. He says, yeah, I still don't remember. It ended it. She was like, so Ajay was doing the direct examination. He stonewalled her. She ended that. The second witness that came on, I want to say that I couldn't catch it, and Brad Rosie didn't have her spell her last name. I believe that it was Wagner. She works for Centurion, the same company that Walla works. She was Walla's supervisor. It was a pretty lengthy direct. He got into a lot of the ins and outs of what her job was with respect to supervising Walla. Was she aware of Rick Allen's conditions? They got into the serious mental illness aspect. His classification is a D. There were some interesting jury questions. I'll obviously give a lot more details, or Allie will when she does our live this afternoon. Third witness is Max Weber, who actually works for the defense. He works with Brad Rosie in his office. IU graduate. He is currently, he's been acting as a legal intern for the last 2 years. He is on the stand testifying about the work that he did compiling the in-cell video as well as the camcorder video that was taken at Westville prison. That's going to be viewed by the jury. There was an objection by McClelland. He was objecting that the audio portion of the camcorder was hearsay. The judge agreed. She sustained it, so we had to take a recess so they could take the audio portion of the camcorder videos off of what the jury's going to see. So that's kind of the quick update. I'll give you more if I can.
This is the problem. That actually 2 problems that the defense are going to face in doing the direct examination of witnesses. One, they're going to get a lot of hostile witnesses who know the truth, but who are prepared to lie on the stand. So this cop who knew what Brad Weber had said, even when given, a report to refresh his recollection, he still said he didn't remember what Brad Weber said or what was said to Brad Weber. in February of 2017. So a real hostile witness. And then secondly, you've got this issue that if the defense is using information or audio that the state could introduce in its own right, if the defense introduce it as part of their case in chief, it becomes hearsay. It's just hearsay. So what they're going to play is the tapes from inside the prison, but they'll have to remove the audio because then that will become hearsay. It's insane. I can't get my head around that, but anyway, that appears to be the law. So if people were saying stuff to Richard Allen, you know, like people were shouting stuff to him to kill himself, or telling him that he's a kid killer, telling him that he's a baby killer again and again and again and again and again, we're never going to hear it. We're never going to hear it because the state can hide all that. So, again, it's down to a coin toss. And those 12 men and women have got a very, very, very difficult deliberation to make. And I just hope that they can see through the BS. And I hope at the very least they can give him the benefit of the doubt. Because I don't believe that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he's the man, that he's the guy, that he did it. And again, it's going to be a tragedy whichever way it goes for somebody. It's going to be a tragedy for somebody, however this plays out. All right, so I've been on here over 2 hours. I'm going to leave it at that. So the links to Andrea Burkhart from last night, Defence Diaries from last night. I've not listened to Loyally yet. I've not had time. But I am going to listen to that before tonight, or else I'm going to get behind. The Court TV from last night, the WCHR from last night, Criminalities Live from last night. They're all in the description box because they're all worth a listen. So there you go. And also those 2 videos that I played from people who were at the south side of Monon High Bridge, I've put those in the description as well. So thank you all for joining me. Thanks, mods. I know that the chat's been busier than usual. We've had over 1,000 people in. The first time in ages that I've had that many people in chat. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining me. And anybody's welcome here, regardless of your opinion, as long as you're respectful. That's all I ask. Thanks to those that donated earlier on. Welcome to those who either were gifted a membership or who joined of their own accord. And Sean hopping in with a $1.99 just before I click end stream. Thank you so much, Sean. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go and listen to the latest in Delphi, actually. Loyally, I'm going to do from last night. And then I'm going to be refreshing, hoping stuff's going to come out. And then it'll be a long night of listening to what happened in court today. Okay. Bye for now. I'll see you soon.